Hi there, this is Jacob Nash Algebra Lessons, and this is Unit 5, Lesson 4, on word problems for rational equations. Well, some people call these work problems. They're work word problems because you can use them to figure out, there's a certain equation that you can use to figure out work, and basically it's just telling you when two people do a job separately, how quicker is it when you do it together? So that's kind of what we're doing here. Here's what the equation is. And this isn't the exact equation, like some people write this in different ways, but to me this makes the most sense. I'll tell you what the variables mean. Okay. This probably looks kind of strange. Okay, what the heck does this thing mean? In this case, T would represent time. Oh wait, sorry, not time. There's a better way for you to explain this. Time together. That's kind of time together. I guess that's the best way to do it. Time together. By the way, I don't usually write my T's like that, but it's better to do that in math. Like, I would usually write them like that, whatever. But if you write them like that, it looks like a plus sign, so. And then P number hours, whatever that is, that just means time alone. And then, sorry for the background noise. I don't know what's wrong with. Okay. So, and then here you have equals 1. And then these dots mean it could be however many people there are in the word problem. This means 1, 2, and then there could be 56 for all I care, whatever. It just means continue that equation for how long it is. So, time together, how long it takes someone to do something together or alone. That's what you plug in for the equation. So I'm going to say a word problem, and we'll figure out how we can do this. This may look complicated right now, but then after I'm done, you might think this is the easiest thing in the unit so far. So here's an example. Okay. Here's one. It doesn't always have to be people, but in this case it is. Suppose one painter can paint an entire house in 12 hours, and the second painter can paint it in 8 hours. So painter 1, let's just call that P1. Well, actually not, because that's supposed to be person. Let's just say P and TR 1. They said 12 hours. P and TR painter 2 takes them 8 hours. Okay. How long would it take them to paint the house together? Okay, let's see. There's 2 painters, so we only need how much there is here, that part of the equation. Equals 1 over 1. Now, I realize that 1 over 1 equals just 1, but I put it like that because you'll have to use the same techniques, and just so that you know all the denominators are the same. Okay. Remember, the denominators means time alone. So time alone, 12, time alone, 8. And then time together is on the top. That's T. So we're trying to find T. How long would it take them to do it together? How do we do this? Well, since there's numbers on the bottom, that's kind of easy. All you have to do is find a common thing that you can multiply them by to equal something. Well, we know. Here's how we can do 8, 12. Like I've told you before, you just add that amount by itself, really just multiplying it by 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So in that case, you would get 16, then you would get 24, that would be times 3, times 4, 32, etc. for this one, times 2, 24. Oh, there you go. So times 3 times 2. That tells you, since that was the jackpot, ding, 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 least common, multiple, all you have to do is that. Multiply it by 3 for the 8 and by 2 for the 12. So 2, 3. Ugh. This thing. Okay. And you have to do it to the numerator too. Remember that. But not only do you have to make that denominator the same, you have to make that one the same too. So basically you could also write down a 1 and you would see 1 times 1, 1 is 1, 1 times 2, 2, 3, etc., etc., etc. And once you did 1 times 24, you would get 24. So if that's times 24, that it took all three of these to be the same, you have to multiply that by 24. Obviously, you might just know that off the top of your head. Oh, those can all be 24. But just in case you wanted to know the exact way to find it. So, since the denominators are the same, remember, we can make them go away. That's from the last lesson. Okay, get rid of all this. We don't need that anymore. And we really don't need that anymore either. Okay. So we have 2t plus 3t. Or sorry. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. 3t equals 24. That means 5t equals 24. Which means that t equals 24 divided by 5, which you would probably want a decimal number in terms of hours, which that equals 4.8. Sometimes they want you to know how many minutes. How do you do that? You take the decimal and you multiply that by 60. So the decimal is 0.8, so 0.8 times 60 is 48. So it would take, if they did it together, it would take 4 hours and 48 minutes. So that's good, because it took them 12 and 8 hours. So that's like a times 2 and times 1, or sorry, times 2 and times 3 upgrade for them. So that's good. That's one problem. That's kind of the simplest one. There's sometimes ones that are a little bit more complicated, where they pretty much when you take another step. Of course there's ones like that, isn't there always? Okay. I erased equation, sorry, but hopefully you remember what that is. Jane, Paul, and Peter can finish painting the fence in 2 hours. Well, we already know that there's 3 people, so you're going to have 3 denominators on one side. But you always have the equals 1 over 1. And it said together is 2 hours. So this time you're given what t is. Okay? If Jane can finish it in 5 hours, or sorry, Jane can finish it in 5 hours, Paul can finish it in 6. How long would it take Peter? So let's just say this, oh my gosh, I'm about to smash this iPad. I hate that. Jane, I would never do that, just so you know. I won that from a radio station, so lucky when I won over $1,000 in gifts, 2 iPads that I gave to someone else, and they don't even use it. So it said Jane takes her 5 hours alone, Paul takes him 6 hours alone. How long for Peter? So let's just say P. Okay. We need to find a common denominator, but this time it has a P in it, so it can't just be numbers. You can't do the thing like we did last time. That's why this is more complicated. So instead, we need to let's figure out what we can do. So if we might just need to multiply these all together. That's the best thing to do in this case. So 5 times 6, let's just do this. So we have 5 times 6 times P times 1. 5 times 6, 30, and then p times 1, p, so 30p. So we need to multiply everything by 30. Well, sorry. The common denominator is 30p. And remember, this is what we did to multiply to get that. So, like I said in the last video, when it's a case like this where you multiply all the denominators, which, by the way, you can always do that, but you might not get the most simplified thing, so you'll have to remember to simplify. Remember for the other ones, we had common denominators of, we had 12 and 8. We could have just multiplied 12 and 8, but then we would have to simplify later on, which is okay, but it's more complicated. So they don't always want you to do that. But anyways, when it's like this, you need to multiply by everything except for the thing that's already there. So what do we multiply this 5 by? Everything except for what's already there, which is 5. So multiply it by 6, p, and 1. Well, 6 times 1 is just 6, so we only need to multiply that by 6p. The 6, multiply everything except for 6. 5p, that's what that would turn out to be. For the p, everything except for the p, so 5 and 6, and 1, but that's 30. And then, the 1 here, everything except for the 1. 5 times 6 times p, 30p. And you have to multiply that same thing by the numerator. So what was the point of doing that down here? If the answers of all of these gives us 30p, the same thing. That's why it's a common denominator. Now that it is, erase all the denominators. That's what you can do. Okay, then we just simplify. Over here, I'll just erase the names. We don't really need that anymore. Just remember that the answer is how long it would take Peter alone. So this is 6p times 2, even though that's hard to read, sorry. That gives you 12p. 5p times 2 is 10p. 30 times 2 is 60. And then 30p times 1 is just 30p. Okay, so as you can see, pretty much what ends up on the other side of the equal sign is always what the common denominator is. Okay, so now we have 22p plus 60 equals 30p. Subtract the 22p, you get 60 equals 8p. Divide by 8, and you get p equals 7.5. Okay, so that means it will take him 7.5 hours alone, but you might need to find the minutes. Hopefully, you probably already know that 0.5 means 30 minutes of an hour, but you multiply that by 60, so you get 30 minutes. So it takes him 7 hours and 30 minutes alone. So that's how you do word problems. You basically just solve like you would, but you have to use the equation. That is time together divided by time alone. So hopefully that helped. Thanks for watching, and that'll be it.